Okay, so I've got the cylinder heads cleaned up, and I went ahead and installed the turbo manifolds again. I'm using this red RTV high temp gasket maker to minimize the chance for leaks. So now it's time to get up to the crane and drop it back in place. Sit on this bracket. There's that. Okay, well, I'm getting close, so I better get a little help from the wife to help guide this thing into place. Alright, well, we got the head in place. Actually wasn't too bad. I was just guiding it, holding it at 45 degrees while my wife kind of bumped it down 1 or 2 inches at a time, and boom, it's done. So now we're going to install the head studs. And remember, these are all into the water jacket, so they're going to need sealer. We're using the ARP stuff. And I want to start in the back where it's the most difficult to get to. Come on. There we go. Alright, so that wasn't so bad. That just dropped in place. And we're going to snug them down. Like I said, you don't want to put any torque on them, so what I'm going to do, with that sealer, you can't just turn them by hand. So I'm going to run them down. And my wrench won't fit back there, it's so tight. So I'm going to have to find a 1/4 inch ratchet or something, and we're going to run them all the way down to where they bottom out, and then we're just going to crack them open, just 1/8 of a turn or so, so you don't have any kind of preload on those studs. Okay? Okay, so I got that 1/4 inch ratchet. We're just going to drive this all the way down until it stops. Right there, it's tight. And now I'm just going to back it off. 1/8 turn. Done. So we're going to repeat that 15 more times. Alright, so all the head studs are now installed, and there's 17 of them, not 16. 17 head studs installed, tightened, backed off 1/8 of a turn, and just kind of look through them, count them if you have to, make sure they're all about the same height. ARP is really good about showing pretty much the same amount of thread on all the studs, whether it's inside the valve cover, outside the valve cover. Even if you have different stud lengths, ARP is real good about keeping the same amount of thread showing when you install your washers and nuts. So just double check all that, make sure everything's down where it's supposed to be. Remember, not tight, just all the way. So now we're going to get some of that ARP lube in our washers and nuts, and we're going to start torquing these bad boys. Alright, so this is the ARP Fastener assembly lubricant. And the idea here is to put this assembly lubricant on both sides of your washer and on the underside of your nut. And a little bit on the inside as well. So that when you're torquing this thing down, there's minimal friction this way and minimal friction on the threads. So I always like to have a little piece of plastic out. It's just a old plastic bag, and because I always make a mess doing these things. I always make a mess. So I'll just load up a few here. So we need what, 17, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Well, that's a lot. This is half and half. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Right there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. And let's see if I can do this one-handed here. A little bit on top here. They actually sell tubes of this stuff instead of these packages. I used to have a tube, but boy, I tell you, I use it up. So when I get a free package like this, I take advantage of it. It's good stuff. And while I'm doing this, let's read some of the instructions on the torque. Let's see here. ARP wants 90 foot-pounds when you use this material. If you're going to use regular engine oil or nothing at all, your torque is going to be a lot higher to get the same stretch out of the studs. And you don't want to deviate off what they recommend either. You know, this stuff is, they've got this stuff perfected down to a science. Stick with the instructions. ARP will do you right. I'm just going to get a little stick and kind of run this around here, and then we'll throw them on the car. 17 washers and 17 nuts. And we'll snug all these things down before we start torquing them. They're so slippery. Let's try this again. It's so hard to grab the sockets with that moly all over your gloves. I try to wipe it off, but it's slippery. Alright, so before I actually torque the heads down, I'm going to tighten these up by hand fairly snug. I'm probably putting 40 or 50 foot-pounds on these guys, and you want to maintain your torque sequence, because what you're doing, you're kind of preloading that gasket, starting to squish it from the center outwards. There, let's go here. And follow the torque sequence that FelPro gives you. So now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to Start with this middle bolt here. I'm going to torque them all down to 90 using the same sequence. Good. Okay, and finally, far back one. All right, yeah, those are all good there. So, I'm actually gonna double check all those torques tomorrow. It's getting a little late now in the day. I'm not going to get the other head on for sure. So when you're giving it up, make sure you release your torque wrench's tension. Bring it back down to 0. That's going to keep it accurate long term. So I'm going to clean up, get ready to go eat, and I'll meet you back here tomorrow for day number 4. All right, here we are, day 3, actually day 4 of the head gasket change out and the head stud installation. First 2 days were a couple of short days, so really if you were billing out, this would be your 3rd long day. I'm going kind of slow. Like I said, it takes a lot of time to document all this kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys can do it faster on your own, but we've got one head installed and torqued down, and now we're just going to repeat on the other side. I'm not going to show you all this. I need to get this thing done today. So once I get both heads on, then we'll go through the rockers and the push rods and the reassembly. And hopefully we'll fire this thing up before dinner time. Alright guys, well, got both heads torqued down with the studs using the ARP moldy lube. We went to 90 foot-pounds. When I checked the other head after sitting for 2 days, a couple of them were a little bit off. So tighten them back up. Because of that, I'm going to go ahead and put together the passenger side rocker arm assembly first and get the valve cover all glued and sealed into place. So I want to check the torque on the driver's side one more time before I finish this one up. Because yeah, it does seem like something's relaxing there. Maybe it's the gasket itself, the FelPro gasket, I don't know. But something to think about, you know. Oh, also, you know, when you're torquing your studs, yeah, you start from the center, you work your way outward. By the time you work your way outward, that gasket is compressing more. So yeah, you may have to do another torque on those middle ones. So double check those. I did. They seem okay right now, but again, I'll check them in an hour or so before I bolt everything on. In fact, I might actually just go ahead and put on the water crossover towers and maybe the intake manifold, and just get everything else set, and save this rocker for last. Just to give the gasket as much time as possible to relax, because I do not want another blown head gasket. This is a pain in the arse, and I do not want to do this again. Alright, so rocker arms are going in. Not a whole lot to these things. I mean, these are pretty crappy design. Gosh, cheap. But just be careful. Don't drop your push rods down into the engine. Make sure you're hitting the lifters. Get a little flashlight. Make sure you're aiming properly. Don't just throw them in. That's just finger tight now. So I'm just going to get 4 more push rods into the other side. Alright, so just going to drop into my push rods here. Right there, that's the lifter. And another one. Bingo. there. And way back here. Alright guys, well I'm sorry I'm not doing enough live action filming here, but I'm just trying to power through this assembly here. It's already 5 o'clock and I'm just trying to get ready so I can take this thing to the office tomorrow. Injector lines are in. They were kind of a pain in the butt. I had a couple of lines mixed up earlier and they couldn't figure out what was going on, take them back apart. Finally figured it out. They're all tight. What else? And now I'm going to rot the wiring harness a little bit. Plug in the glow plugs. Some of the electrical connections in the back. And then we'll start working on the accessories. And this thing needs to go underneath these injector lines. So let's see if we can't make that through. Alright, so got this electrical over here routed pretty well, so I'm going to start talking about throwing down my intake manifold. And I'm going to put a little RTV on this gasket. I'm going to reuse the old gasket. Just going to RTV around a couple of edges. Not so much for sealing, but I want to use the RTV just kind of help hold it in place. Because I'm going to break for dinner. And this will keep it from moving around on me when I drop that intake on there. So I just put it as far apart as I can, like I said, the two farthest ports. And like that. Like I said, that should hold it. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Alright, there's the intake. I just need to throw some bolts in there. Some of these bolts are studs that attach brackets to and such. I really don't remember where they go, but I'll figure it out. I do think I'm going to disconnect the EGR solenoid stuff over there. It just kind of crowds the engine compartment and I'm not using it anyway. Well, I just screwed up here. I put my cruise control on before I put on my water jacket. The cruise control has a couple of 3 bolts that are kind of hard to get to. And I thought I'd put it on while I had good access to it, but turns out you can't install your crossover once this cruise control is in. So the cruise control is coming back out. So when you're doing this on your 6.2 or 6.5, put the darn crossover piece in first. Now the intake manifold is coming back off. Alright, I'll just set that aside for now. And I had to do that because, again, I couldn't get to my bolts for my cruise control. That's frustrating. This has probably slowed me down an hour or so tonight. And it doesn't look like I'm going to finish. So, it's getting dark outside. I need to spend some time with my wife. So let's go ahead and call it quits, and then we'll do it again tomorrow when I get off work. Alright, well, back at this again. I've lost track of what day this is. Day 4, day 5, I don't remember. You guys watching the video probably have a better idea than I do now. But both valve covers are on, rockers are on. I had to pull the intake and the vehicle speed controller back off in order to get that thermostat crossover in there. But now I'm starting to bolt down the intake manifold. And once that's in place, I think I can start putting the accessories back on, and I'm starting to do the exhaust crossover. I finally got the AC compressor and the power steering brackets attached. There was an issue as far as which goes where, but it seems to work best attaching the power steering bracket first, then the two studs, the longer one on the outside, and then the power steering pump, and then the AC compressor on top of those studs. And everything seems to line up. I'm fixing to put the belts on. Before I do though, I want to go ahead and connect the exhaust crossover, because that's going to be hard to reach once I get my alternator in place. So I'm going to get out the high heat silicone and let's glue some exhaust. Okay, the compressor is finally in there. I've got my 3 new belts installed. Got the Dayco top cogs because I think they look cool. But Rock Auto sent me a AutoZone belt for my power steering pulley. That sucks. I asked for a Dayco top cog and they sent me an AutoZone belt. So that one's gonna go back. I'm gonna complain about that. I want all 3 to match, right? Am I being a little bit anal retentive about this? Maybe, but that's what I want. I want all 3 belts to match. But I'm powering through this, trying to get it assembled. Putting the radiator hoses on. Time for the upper, time for the turbo, and then I'm gonna change the oil. The batteries are in, oil's been changed. I need to hook up the negative side still over here. But this thing is just about ready to fire up. So let's go ahead and get this charge tube in place. Goes in something like this. Okay. Alright, took up the negative, this last of the negatives, and like I said, I'm not sure how many cranks this thing's going to take to start, so put in your bets now. We're only going to crank it for about 20 seconds at a time. Don't want to let the starter cool down. We don't want to burn up anything, but this may take a while. Let's see how we do. Well, so far nothing. I'm gonna go ahead and put my battery charger on this thing to get a little more juice. Someone commented earlier I need dual batteries. I've got dual batteries. Okay, it's Saturday morning. I've let both batteries charge overnight, so they should be in good shape. It hasn't started, the truck has not started yet. So I've gone ahead and cracked open the fuel lines and cranked it over a few times. It sounds like it's trying to start, so I went ahead and closed off those fuel lines. And let's see what happens. I said this has not yet run, so this may still take a couple of tries, but let's see what happens here. We'll make it around the block. All right, time to road trip this thing. There we go. So anyway, we're fixing to go up this big hill to the left. I'll see how many PSI it makes and how does it sound for throwing any black smoke out the bat. Here we go. No coal, 11 PSI, 12 PSI. Dropping as it shifts. About 12 PSI. Getting a funny vibration from the engine though. I may have a belt issue again, oh no. Belts looked pretty good, so I'm wondering if maybe it was the front locking hubs. I had them locked out. Maybe it's about time to rebuild those hubs. But yeah, back in free wheel mode, and so far it's feeling pretty good. Yeah, the belts are fine. Even the AutoZone belt that Rock Auto gave me instead of that Daco Top God. Now I'm going to pass this on now. Another big hill coming up. Let's see how this thing does. Yeah, we're on about a 15-degree incline right now, running about 7 PSI. Truck doesn't really even care about the grade, so yeah, those head gaskets were a success. I still have to give it a little bit more fuel. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but yeah, looks like the 6.5 is running good. So now hopefully I get to work on that Corvette project. So if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks.